March 23rd, 2000. We're in the room of Louise Murphy Dow at Hilltop Manor, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her early memories of Roscommon. Okay, what were you saying about Mrs. Gallimore?
She owned a boarding house.
Uh-huh.
There were no restaurants in Roscommon then. And so she had used to board room the people that, single people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she'd come along every morning and she'd go past our house. She'd say, well, I'm going to market, get my meat for the day.
Uh-huh.
And she'd leave her husband home paring the vegetables, and then she'd leave the meat, get the meat cooking, and we'd go out to where the post office is now and pick
Oh.
raspberries.
Oh, really?
And she'd pick enough to make a cup of pie for her
Oh.
boarders. See, there were no restaurants, so
Uh-huh.
she
I bet
had
they were good pies.
James Oliver Curwood, the author, used to eat there all the time.
Did he? Did you meet him?
Oh, yes, I do him
What was
well.
he like?
Oh, he was very, very friendly person. He had a cottage on the river, and he used to spend a lot of time there by himself. And he had a horse. He used to ride horseback and come into Mrs. Galmore's to eat.
Oh, that had to be fun. Now, how that? What years would that have been? In the
Oh,
20s?
God, I don't know.
Probably in the 1920s. Do you
I
think?
can't know.
Okay. Were you born here in Roscommon?
What?
Were you born here in
Oh, yes.
Roscommon? Okay.
Uh,
What were your parents' names?
Bob and May.
Murphy.
Uh,
Did what kind of work did your father do?
my father was a bartender. He owned a bar,
Oh,
and that's where
which
he worked.
where was the bar?
Well, right, just the other side of the railroad tracks by the depot.
Oh, was it called Murphy's Bar?
Pardon?
What was it called? Was it called Murphy's Bar?
No,
No?
I've forgotten what it was called.
Oh. And how many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had one sister and two brothers.
What were their names?
Well, the brothers' names were Francis and Harold. My sister's name was Elaine.
Oh, okay. Were you the oldest?
Yes.
Well, you were in charge, huh?
I tried to be.
Sure. And where was your house?
Oh gosh, I don't know how to describe it. Uh,
Is it still
it was
here?
beyond the creek. The creek, you know where the creek ran in Roscommon behind Wallace's house?
Mm-hmm.
It was beyond there on the left.
Oh, okay. I
I
probably don't
remember
know.
I've always been afraid of water since they were putting that bridge in, and my mother was going to walk into town, and I was walking behind her. When we got to the creek, we had just to pay a plank to walk across. And, well, water was deep, you know, about 4 inches deep, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, follow me, and I started to follow her, and I looked down at the water and fell in,
Oh.
and I couldn't get up. It was frightened me, so she had to wade in and get me up all the
Oh.
water. I remember that.
Was that Tanner Creek or Robinson Creek?
Pardon?
Was that Tanner Creek or Robinson?
Robinson Creek.
Robinson
She
Creek.
ran through town.
Oh, okay. Do you remember any of your teachers?
Oh, yeah, Anna Ferry. And if you look crossways, you got us a crack. And uh, Cartwright was a man teacher, the only man teacher we had. And he was only there 1 year. And, oh, I can't remember just offhand who some of the others were lower grades, Neva Holcomb and her. And then when I was in high school, they didn't hire substitutes. And I got into teaching because I was sober than the other kids. And I got the teaching assignments.
Oh, you did?
And I used to practice teach, so I didn't need any practice teaching when I went to college.
You already had it in Roscommon, huh?
Huh?
You had already had it here.
Yes,
Yes. Where did you go to college?
Central Michigan.
Did you? And was that a normal school then? How did
It
you
was
go
a
for 2
normal
years?
school, training for teachers.
Uh-huh.
We got to train from the time we entered the school. In addition to our subjects, we got teaching experience.
What year did you start college? Do you remember?
Oh, I can't remember. I know I was graduated when I was 16, and I started the next fall.
You graduated from high school when you were 16?
Uh-huh.
12th grade? That was the
Oh,
12th
yes.
grade, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Um, where did you first teach?
At the Mead School, about 4 miles out of town. And I think I had 8 or 9 pupils, but I had all grades.
Oh my goodness.
And they were all in different grade.
That was a challenge
Yes,
for
but
a new
the
teacher.
slower kids learned from the kids that were faster. By the end of the year, they'd be up to grade level
Sure.
because
Well,
they'd be anxious, to listen to the other classes.
sure.
They learned that way.
Did you still live with your parents when you were teaching?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Uh-huh. Okay. Tell me about when you worked for Mr. McConkey.
Well, I did quite a lot of the buying,
Did you?
and Mr. McConkey had a real keen sense of humor. And he'd say, well, I guess I gotta go. Here comes old lady so-and-so, and her shoes are too tight. And he'd leave me to
To take care of it, huh?
take care of it.
Uh-huh. Huh.
It was a pleasure working for him because he had a good sense of humor.
Well, that was
And one
nice.
of our chief customers was Cliff Durant, that owned the Durant Motors. He had a cottage down the river, and I knew Harry from Harry'd worked at a grocery store before.
Harry
So he
who?
would buy everything for home in Detroit from Harry. He'd come in and say, all right, I need 12 sheets, double size. I need, they just give the order like that.
Oh.
And Harry just ordered from Edson Moore in Detroit, and he wouldn't have to handle them at all.
Oh.
Only handle the money.
Well, that was pretty good for Mr. McConkey.
Oh, yes.
Sure.
Yes,
What do you remember about Mr. Durant?
Mr. Durant?
Yeah.
Well, he'd come in and he'd say, I need so many bathing suits, and he'd have companies come up.
Did he have a wife?
Not up there, he didn't. I guess he did later. And he'd, I need so many bathing suits. I'd say, well, sorry, Mr. Durant, no, it doesn't make any difference. He'd say.
Oh.
So I pick out some that hadn't moved the year before and give them to him. Harry used to say I cleaned out his stock every summer.
Well, you were a good employee. So you worked for Mr. McConkey when you were in high school
Yes,
and
in
college?
the summertime and on Saturdays.
Uh-huh. Well, that was pretty good.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That was a good job.
Sure.
I learned a lot about buying, too,
Mm-hmm.
from him because he let me, what do you think this is? Do you think this will sell? And so on. One time a salesman came in, he was selling house dresses for $1. We retail them for $1. And he said, do you think they'll sell? And I said, well, yes, they'll sell. The price will low to sell. Boy, we cleaned the stock out in half a day.
Wow, great.
That was fun,
Sure. Did they sell like yard goods and
Oh, yes.
drapes and that kind of thing?
They
too?
sold a lot of yard goods because women were into the patchwork quilts at that time.
Oh.
And they'd come and I want an eighth of a yard of this. I feel like hitting them with a bolt. every yard of that.
Yeah, just little dinky pieces, huh?
Uh,
Yeah. Now, what year were you born?
oh, what year was I born? Well, let's see, I don't know. I'll be 93 in September.
Oh, okay. Well, we can figure that out.
Huh?
We can figure that out then. That's nice. Now, how long did you live in Roscommon?
Oh, all my life,
Oh,
until I got married.
and when do you remember what year you got married?
Not offhand,
No.
no.
And who did you marry?
I married a fellow from Detroit that I met up at Roscommon, the dances, you know. We used to go to the dances. There was none of this running in and out of the dance hall or any of that at that time.
Now, was that at the Opera House?
Well,
When
we
you say
did
you
there
went
in
to
the
the...
wintertime, but the summertime we had pavilions
Oh.
at the lakes. There was one at Houghton Lake, one at Prudenville, one at Houghton Heights.
Oh. That sounds like fun.
Oh, it was fun. We met a lot of different people.
Sure.
They come as far as Bay City for one dance, you know, in the
Really?
night. And the same way from the north, they come there. Because they big dance bands would break up in the city in the summer, and they'd come to the resorts in smaller 6 or 8 pieces
Uh-huh.
and play for the music.
Oh, I bet that was wonderful.
Oh, yes, it was.
Why, sure. Then how long did you live downstate?
Oh, well, up until just recently.
Oh, okay. So, and where did you
After
live?
I married, I lived downstate always,
Uh-huh. In what town?
in Lincoln Park.
Lincoln Park. And did you teach down there?
Yes, I did. I started in, my husband always said, only one of us are going to work. Doesn't make any difference which one. But during the war years, when the teachers were going to war, the men teachers, they were so short of teachers, the kids came home and said they had a 5th grade teacher teaching them in the 8th grade. So I said to my husband, I could go one day a week, a substitute, you know, for an emergency. Well, of course, I went one day and I was steady from then on.
How many children do you have?
2 boys.
2 boys. So you were a teacher in Lincoln Park then?
Yes. I stayed right on teaching. That was a good thing because my husband died when my kids were young, you know.
Oh, okay.
And I had the same hours that they had.
Sure. Very nice. I understand that you went back to college then.
Oh, yes.
Can you tell us about that? Where did you go?
Central Michigan.
Okay, and you have your master's degree?
Pardon?
You have your master's?
Oh, yeah, but I didn't go all at once. I went in the summertime first, and, you know, added to the credits I had. And then,
Sure.
then I stayed on. Well, that's how I got my master's, really part-time.
Uh-huh. Very good. Well, let's come back to Roscommon. What do you remember about your Aunt Lizzie
Aunt Lizzie?
Blanchard? Uh-huh.
Oh, she was a very jovial person, young and mine. And she had that house across from the Catholic Church. And she was a fun person. She always remained young.
Oh, that's nice.
Uh-huh.
You said she used to give you treats when you came on your lunch break from
Oh, yes.
McConkey's?
When I worked in the summertime, when I was still in high school, I worked the summer for Harry McConkey's dry goods store. And when I'd take my break, I'd go up there, and she'd always have tea ready and cookies or cake.
Good place to stop, huh?
Yes. She liked company, too. She
Sure.
liked young people.
Sure. What was her husband like?
Her husband, she was a widow as long as I knew her.
Oh, she was. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Do you
He
remember?
was a lumberman.
Uh-huh.
I know that much about him, and that's about all.
What was Mr. Gallimore like?
Mr. Who?
Mr. Gallimore?
Well, he was like a kitchen maid. He pared the vegetables and did the cleaning.
He really helped her a lot then with the boarding house.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
She did the shopping, and
Hmm.
she'd start, and she'd be good with the meat. And she'd go home, put it on from the butcher shop, and she'd go and pass my house. She'd say, "Come on, let's pick some berries when I get the meat cooking."
Uh-huh.
She'd leave him to watch the meat, and we'd go out and pick raspberries where the post office is now.
That's wonderful. Did you pick huckleberries in the
Oh,
summer
yes,
too?
we sold huckleberries.
You sold them to who?
Oh, there was a man came in with a refrigerated tray car, and we called him Huckleberry Jones. He came every summer for years and bought all the huckleberries from
Wow.
the people. And I remember we got $5 a bushel.
You'd have a bushel of huckleberries? Oh my. That's a lot of huckleberries.
Yeah, but they were big,
Uh-huh.
and easy to pick.
Did your brothers help too? Did
No,
everybody pick?
they were not berry pickers.
No.
My mother, when they got old enough to drive, was sometimes they go, in order to drive one way. And they, after they get out there, then they wouldn't want to pick. The youngest one especially was lazy. And he'd say, "Come on, let's go home, let's go home." And my mother would keep on picking berries, and so would I.
How far did you drive to
Oh, about
to
10
the path?
miles.
Oh, did you? Where? Do you remember
Oh,
where?
there were all kinds of
And any
berries,
direction?
and they were big too. Were clean. It wasn't hard to pick them.
Wonderful, huh? Those are nice memories.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you know the Bentons, Fanny Benton?
Oh,
Fanny Benton and Will
uh,
Benton?
uh,
No, they lived next to Salome and Dutch Shepherd.
next to who?
Salome and Dutch Shepherd.
I know where Sloan lives.
Did you know
There, see,
Salome?
Dutch Shepherd is my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
He's my mother's brother.
Oh, okay.
What was the name again?
Benton.
No, I didn't know them.
No,
I
didn't
know
know
where the house was next to their home,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know the people.
Tell me, what did your family go to one of the churches in town?
My father was Catholic, my mother was Protestant, so she had to contribute to all the church socials, regardless of the religion. They always came to her. She seemed to me she was always begging all the time for one church or another.
Uh-huh. Which one did you go to?
I went to Catholic church.
Did you? Well, that was nice. Oh, let's see. Do you remember when your family got their first car?
Well, there was a fellow lived in Mile. He was a businessman of some kind, and he used to go to Florida every winter. So my dad owned a saloon, and he'd come in and he'd leave his car with my dad and tell him be sure and use it so he'd keep it running.
Uh-huh.
And we that was the first car we really had use of.
And that's what you learned to drive with that one then?
Oh, I had never got to drive till after I got married because I had two brothers and they were fighting with each other all the time who was going to drive. That's the only time the youngest one would pick berries was if he could drive one way.
So you didn't get a chance with the car, did you?
No.
Did you like to cook when you were still home? Did you help your
Oh,
mother?
I never cooked. My mother did all the
Your
cooking.
mother did it all? Oh,
She did all the cooking.
you were busy studying, weren't you?
Pardon?
You were busy studying.
Yeah. We had a neighbor that had quite 3 or 4 small children, and I used to go to her house after school, and she always had dirty dishes and ironing. They had to iron everything in those days.
Uh-huh.
And I'd just on my own. I'd do up what had to be done.
Oh,
She
bless your
never
heart.
paid me, but every once in a while she'd send away and get some material, make me a nice dress.
Oh, well, that was nice.
Uh-huh.
What was their name? Do you remember?
Carlson,
Oh, the Carlsons. Do you remember a first name?
Bell.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Let's see. Um, what do you remember? What do you remember about things that they had at the Opera House? Do you remember?
Well, that's where we used to have the social events, the dances, and they used to have amateur plays there.
Oh,
Until one of the male actors got enamored with one of the female leads, and they ran away together, and that ended the local opera house.
oh, did it? Were you ever in one of the plays?
No.
No, but you would attend. You'd go to the
Oh,
performance. That had to be a fun thing.
yes. It was. Most of it was giggling and laughing at the
Sure.
efforts of the actors.
What do you remember about the trains?
About what?
The trains and the train depot?
Oh, the train was a big deal when it came. The passenger train, one went south about 3:30, and one came north before that about 2 o'clock. And everybody in the town that didn't have a job would go down and meet the trains and see who got on and who got off.
Sure, that had to be fun. Did you travel by train?
Oh yes, lots of times.
Did you?
That was a fun way to travel. And even after buses got common, my son always wanted to go north on the train
Did he?
so he could walk up and down from one car to the other.
Sure. Where did you travel to?
Pardon?
When you took the train, where did you go?
Oh, at my Bay City shopping or north to Mackinac Island or places
Oh.
like that.
Great. Mackinac Island is still a wonderful place.
Yeah.
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 Let's see now, what else do I want to ask? Let's see. Your brother Harold, what did he do for a living?
He never married, and my uncle owned a Ford dealership, and he managed that for him.
Okay. And who was your uncle?
What?
Which uncle? Which uncle did that? Oh, Mr. Dutch Shepherd, you mean? Okay. Okay. Do you remember where your grandpa Shepherd was from?
Was what?
What country he immigrated from?
Shepherd, I think they were Scots.
Okay.
Originally, I mean, they came from the Sterling Standish area to Roscommon.
Were you born here?
No, I was born in Roscommon.
Oh, okay.
Is this Roscommon?
Yeah, this is Roscommon. This is where you were born. Okay, yes, we, from the 1900 census tells that they immigrated to America in 1888. So I wondered what country they had come from.
Who?
Your grandpa Shepherd.
Oh.
Okay. Well, let me think. Okay, we're going to talk about some of the stores that were in downtown Roscommon.
Well, Sly's owned the dry goods store originally. Delia Sly,
Mm-hmm.
and they always had their own cow. So
Oh,
they closed up while they took the cow about a mile out of town to pasture and opened up when they came back.
that's pretty good. And that's the same store that Mr. McConkey
Yes, he
had.
bought it.
Okay.
See, he'd worked in the grocery store before, and
Who,
so he knew a lot of the. He was
whose
he was
grocery
a
store
real jolly person,
was he?
and he knew a lot of the resorters. They'd even buy stuff to send home,
Oh.
and it got him a good start in
Uh-huh.
business.
Whose grocery store did he work for?
Prices.
Oh, okay. And where was that?
It was, well, it was right across from the hotel that was there at that time. It's right across there.
Okay. Do you remember the name of the hotel?
Yeah, the Roscommon Hotel.
Oh, okay, the one that's the Spruce now. Okay. Um, what other stores were there? Do you remember? Was there a drugstore?
Oh yeah, Patty's Drugstore. Don Patty owned it.
Uh-huh. What was that like?
Well, he carried everything from drugs to toys.
Did he? When you were growing up, did the telephones come?
Pardon?
Was there telephones when you were growing up?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
in fact,
telephone.
when I was in high school, I worked in the telephone office in the summertime.
Oh,
And on the weekends, in the wintertime, I worked at the telephone office.
you worked a lot of places.
Oh yeah, I had lots of experience. They could always depend on me to be there. That came first, my job, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't hard for me to get a job.
That's right. That was good. Who was the doctor when you were growing up?
Uh,
Who was the doctor in town?
Dr. Cornelia.
He took pretty good care of everyone, didn't he?
Pardon?
He took pretty good care of everyone.
Well, yeah, he was the boss. No matter what he told them, they believed.
Uh-huh.
He's the only doctor in town
Mm-hmm.
for most of the time that I remember.
Well, it probably was enough.
Uh, I still have contact with his nephews that lived there.
Oh,
Cornelia boys were
Uh-huh.
nephews of his.
sure.
And Jim, the oldest one, became a teacher. And not Muskegon, I think. And Chuck, the youngest one, went on to college and graduated and went to into engineering
Oh,
at the University of Michigan. I still correspond with Jim. He's always written what goes up when he's home in the summertime.
yeah.
And he makes all his own jellies and jams. And at Christmas time, he has a favorite for every one of his friends.
Well, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote a book about Roscommon.
Who wrote a book?
Jim did. It's very nice.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
Who were some of your other classmates?
Pardon?
Who were some of your other classmates?
Well, the Cornelia boys were classmates of mine. And Geisters.
How many were in your high school class?
Graduated class 4.
Well, you knew each other very well. Who were the other the other 3?
Chuck Cornelia, Milo Geister, and Ellie Morris.
Oh, very good. when you were in high school, did you play basketball or did the
Yes, and then when I was teaching, I coached basketball, girls
you?
basketball.
Good for you.
Uh,
How far did you travel to play games?
we used to travel on the train, and we'd go as far as Bay City sometimes,
Really?
north to Gaylord.
Just like they do today, huh? Well, thank you very much.
Welcome.
From the Roscommon Area Historical Society, we thank you.
You're from the Roscommon News?
The Roscommon Historical Society,
Oh,
okay? Thank you.
near the
We're
courthouse
talking
where
about the
that
Gallimore
monument
House.
was. It
Mm-hmm.
was in the, just a half a block away.
Mm-hmm.
And like James Oliver Kerwood had a place on the river. Of course, there were no restaurants. And he'd ride his horse into Mrs. Gilmore's boarding house for his meals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you told me that.
Kazan, the
Mm-hmm.
horse name was. I think he wrote a book about Kazan.
Yeah, he did. That's the name of one of his books.
Uh,
Did you know their daughter,
who?
Gallimore's daughter, Edith?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
She was a seamstress. She took in seam. So, people used to sew their own dresses and have someone make them for them.
Mm-hmm.